Before we begin to inquire into the question or questions, we should talk over together what is peace and its relationship to intelligence. You don't mind if I talk? In a world that is disintegrating with wars and nationalism and sectarianism, idealisms, and every form of division, opinion against opinion, data against data, judgment against judgment, and so on. Can we have peace in the world first? Or can we live peacefully? What does it mean to live together, man, woman, and so on, or a group of people not committed to any belief or sect or faith, and so on? Can we live together peacefully? Apparently, this is one of the most difficult things in the world. Here too, there's a great deal of disturbance going on in England. Strike after strike. And all the travails of human beings. And in search for peace, one goes off to a monastery, shaving one's head, putting on some kind of garb, and taking vows. This has been tried for generation upon generations, both in India and in the West and the Far East. A group of people committed to live peacefully and to subjugate all their opinions, conforming to a certain pattern of idealism, certain dogmas, a way of monastic life, and so on. When I heard the other day a rather extraordinary thing, there was a man who was very good at writing, literary. He was doing quite well. Newspapers, magazines, and all the rest of it. And he gave up all that one day and went off to some kind of retreat, a ashrama, a guru collects round himself. And there, what do you think he's doing? Pulling old nails out of old wood. And he's perfectly happy. You understand all this? And he is living peacefully, he says. Is that peace? To completely forget the world, what's happening in the world, forget any kind of responsibility, put aside any kind of relationship with another, and disappear into a commune, into a community, or enter into a monastery, which is highly organized, with the abbot, whom we must obey utterly, and so on. How does one find peace in the world and in oneself? I'm sure one has asked this question of oneself. To live completely, peacefully, in relationship to others. Not isolate oneself. That's fairly simple, and also it has its own dangers. The dangers are that you become more and more self-centered, or commit yourself to some symbol, a figure, or to some doctrinaire concept, and devote all one's energy to that, keeping that to oneself and working in a garden or in a vineyard. Champagne and the good wines of France were produced by the monks. And the monks have also fought, killed people. This has been going on for centuries. And one is living in a world that's really monstrously destructive, divisive, every form of brutality and so on. Where does one find peace? Can a group of people live together peacefully? Whether they are teachers, educators, or man, woman, and so on. Does one look for peace, or does one bring about peace? You understand? Does peace lie externally, outside the skin, as it were, or does one really want peace? If one sets aside all the things that desire, will, thought, has conceived what is peace, wanting peace, and committed to some form of regulation, whether it is so-called spiritual or otherwise. Lots of people have disappeared in the army because they have no responsibility there. Governments look after you, like in a monastery. But you work, march, ready to kill and so on. So can one bring about peace within oneself? And is it possible, living in this world, knowing what the world is becoming more and more, both scientifically and so-called nationally, can one live or create peace? You understand my question? Can we wait a few minutes for that? To live in peace implies no act of divisiveness, right? No act of separation. No sense of me first and you second, both in a queue and at home. Is that possible at all? Not only for oneself, but living with a group of people. The speaker has been for many, many years, 60 or more. The speaker has been living with over 60 years with a group of people in India, America, here, all over the world, part of the world rather. And there is always contention, always dissension, opinion against opinion. Why shouldn't I think this way? You think your way, and so on. This process has been going on, not only now, always, perhaps. And one wonders if it is at all possible to create peace. One is using the word create in the ordinary sense of the word, not creation. That's another matter. Can one, in a group of people, create peace? In your house, perhaps 4 of you, or 2 of you, if in a family, can we bring peace about? Or is that impossible? You understand my question? Does one really want to live in peace? And if one does, what price do you pay for it? Not in coins, not in banknotes and so on, but what are you willing or desirous or saying as we must live in peace, and it's only in peace that one can really flower? What will you do? What will you put aside? What gesture will you make? You understand? It's very easy to superficially say, yes, I'm willing to live in peace. I'll join your beastly little community or your commune, or I'll follow a guru, I'll come and live in that community. That's very easy and rather slack. Forgive that word. Rather indifferent to what is happening to the rest of the world. It's a form of exclusiveness. Not one is against the elite, but the exclusive way of looking at life. You know? Now are we willing to give up, put aside our own particular opinions? Particular judgments? Not that one must not have objections. Discussions, stating what one thinks, and if one sees what one thinks is not correct, yield, change. Is all that possible? Or we are also, so obstinate. You understand my question? That we never, under any circumstances, yield, unless we are forced. So we come to a point, if one wants really peace in oneself and in one's family or in one's group of people, to be highly sensitive, not only to one's own particular desires, that's fairly simple, to one's own self-centered images, but to be sensitive to nature, to other people's ideas, other people's way of looking, their difficulties, the whole process of living together, which requires an enormous sense of yielding and watching and observing and highly not interpretive, but seeing what the other is. He may be brutal, he may be insensitive, but help him to be sensitive, help him not to be normal. You follow? It's a constant sense of movement, not taking a stand at any time. Is that all possible? Not only in a family or in a group of people, like in a school, and we are very close to a school here. We are having a lot of trouble there too. So this is a great problem, which not only we who are responsible here at the school at Brockwood, but also responsible to ourselves and to our environment, to the way we live. Because peace requires a great deal of intelligence. Not just say, I must live peacefully. I must leave the place where there is conflict and go somewhere else hoping to find where there is no conflict. Such place doesn't exist unless one becomes completely dull, completely insensitive, and doesn't care a damn what is happening. Sorry, you don't mind? And so on. So one has to inquire also, what is intelligence? Because peace requires a tremendous intelligence. Isn't the thing you buy in the market or in books or repeating some chants or some words or pray for peace. Good God. Humanity has prayed for peace from the beginning of days. And there has been no peace in the world or in oneself. And to have that quality of peace, which is unshakable, which has no shadow of disturbance in it, requires great intelligence. So we must ask ourselves, what is that intelligence? Is that intelligence born of books? Is that intelligence the outcome of complicated, subtle thought? Or is it a projection of an ideal and conforming to that pattern? Thought, with its limitation, has certain quality of intelligence. Otherwise, we couldn't be sitting here. You need intelligence to travel, to go to the moon. To go to the moon, there must have been thousands of people cooperating together to produce that rocket that went up there. That's a form of intelligence. And a scientist, a surgeon, to operate requires great skill, requires some form of intelligence. So is all that born of knowledge, born of experience, accumulated skills with their high discipline, all the result and the product, the movement of thought, and thought being limited, as we talked about it the other days, can thought bring about peace, which has its own limited intelligence? Right? Or is intelligence nothing whatsoever to do with the activity of thought? You're following with me? Not only verbally, but see the logic of it, the reason for it. Thought, with its limitation, has created the most extraordinary things in the modern world. The rapid communication. You do not know, one does not know if you have been on a battleship or a submarine. The complications of it, the extraordinary energy that's gone to build those things. And the dynamo, motors and so on. Immense energy, great deal of thought, knowledge has gone into all this. And therefore there is that quality of limited intelligence, because based essentially on thought or knowledge. And is there an intelligence which is not limited? One must ask these questions if one wants peace. One must ask these essential questions. Not only peace, a way of living with great depth, great beauty, and It's only that quality of intelligence that can bring this about. That is, can there be peace without love? You understand my question? Can there be peace without sense of compassion? Can there be compassion if one belongs to a certain sect, religion, group, and so on? You understand my answer? If I'm attached to my particular conditioning as a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, or Buddhist, I can read the books that talk about compassion as being essential. There's no end to making of books, right? Are we all together or am I talking? So where do I find this? Where does one find this intelligence? Or come upon it? One cannot possibly cultivate that intelligence. You can cultivate the limited intelligence in the world of science, biology, mathematics, art, and so on. That can be cultivated carefully, day after day, till you have that extraordinary skill. But is compassion, with its extraordinary intelligence, is that cultivable? Then, as it is not, you cannot cultivate day by day love, right? So what will you do if you want to live peacefully, deeply, without a single shadow of conflict between each other? What shall we do or not do? One has to go really very deeply into the question of desire, will, and love. We've talked for half an hour. I'm not answering the questions. So perhaps we can do this on Saturday and Sunday. Well, we have a lot to talk about. Not only that, intelligence, love, and the whole problem of pain and sorrow and death and meditation, religion, and all that we have to talk about. So I bet the speaker better pick up the questions.